both too big and too short. Regrets. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Wander and Create with Emma. I'm Emma, and on my YouTube channel I share all things knitting, crochet and other yarny based activities, from visiting local yarn stores to knitting in beautiful places. This is my monthly vlog episode where I share with you the knitting or crochet projects that I've been working on over the previous month. So this month I'm going to be talking about July. And I'll share any other news I have with you. I do have one personal update to share with you today, so stay tuned to hear what that is. But otherwise, I am going to be sharing with you 3 finished objects that I have achieved in this last month, as well as one work in progress, and then some other ideas I have that I'm going to take into August with me. So grab your cup of tea or a cold drink and let's get stuck in. Okay, so first off the top of the bat, I just want to touch on what I am wearing. For today's record, I am wearing the Gastown top, which was designed by me and I released about 2 years ago now. And I'm wearing it because this is a sample I made for the video tutorial that I released 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen that and you're interested in crocheting this top, you can find the tutorial on my channel and the pattern and links to buy the pattern, which is available from my website, on Ravelry and Etsy. I had a lot of fun putting the tutorial together. If you're someone that is more of a visual learner, that video may be really helpful to you. It's a fairly simple top to make, so if you are a beginner crocheter looking to make their first garment, I think this one is a good project for you to do. This one was made with linen yarn from Rowan Yarns. It's just a pure linen, DK weight. I wanted to have like a beachy summer colour, and this is obviously like very sand coloured yarn. I'm very happy with it, and wearing it through the summer has been fun. I'm trying to experiment with what colours to wear underneath it. Today I'm wearing my pink ripple crop. I'm interested to see how it looks on the camera. In the mirror, to me, I think it looks quite fun. We'll see how I feel about it when I see it on camera. But anyway, that is what I am wearing. And I need a sip of tea already. Even though it's been really hot here, I still love a good cup of tea. I'm feeling a bit tired today. I didn't sleep too well last night, so tea is needed to keep me going throughout the day. I've already had like 2 or 3 coffees, so we move on to tea. And I have a very creaky chair. So first up, I'm going to talk about the Tsleil-Waututh top. I'm going to hop back in time to when I just finished this project before I'd washed and blocked, and then I'll come back and share with you more details. I just finished knitting the Tsleil-Waututh top by Kutovakika. Here it is. But I have to wash and block it. It's feeling a bit scrunched up at the moment. The armholes need a bit of pinning out. The bottom is a bit folded up. I also have a horrifying amount of ends to weave in, which is the part of knitting I like the least. Because I was changing the stripes, I couldn't really carry it up. So I have a lot of that to do, but I'm excited to get it washed and blocked. Okay, so here is the finished, washed and blocked Tsleil-Waututh top. I have already worn it a bunch of times. That was a couple of weeks ago now, and I've worn it to work. I have worn it out to meet friends. I've just worn it day to day around the house. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I haven't actually weaved in all the ends yet. I did all of this side, all of the side seams, and then I did get a little bit bored when I got to this shoulder. But I really need to do it because I did find myself at work the other day being like, oh, some of my ends are hanging out. That's not a particularly smart look. So maybe after the video today, I'll just do that last little bit. It's so typical of me. I got so close to having it finished and perfect, and I just stop. But anyway, I will get to it. So to walk you through the kind of full experience I had with knitting this top, overall I found it a really great pattern. The pattern was really well written. It was easy to be able to make modifications or customizations to length, etc. where I needed to or wanted to. And I'm really happy with the final fit, but I will talk you through some of the things that I did along the way to make it for me. So I'll start with the gauge swatch. So I did the gauge swatch, and I tried to find my swatch for prepping for this video, and weirdly I cannot find it. I have a bag with all my swatches in and it's not in there. but I know that my stitch count was off. So I did some maths, and to accommodate it, I realised that I could just probably size up one needle size and still get to follow size large, which based on the measurements in the pattern is the size that I'd be following. If I sized up a needle size for both the body and the hem, I should get away with it, which did work out. So in the pattern for the main body, it required a 3mm needle, but I sized up to a 3.25mm needle, which is a US 3. And then for the hem, the pattern says a 2.5mm. I used a 2.75, a size 2, I believe, US needle size. And that worked out fine for me. I ended up with a good fit that I'm really happy with. And so that was good. That was a good start. And then a couple of other customizations I did. The original pattern, the samples you'll see, the stripes are just one contrast colour. I decided, because I wanted to use my stash, that I was going to alternate white and blue, because I had two small amounts of yarn for a blue and a white yarn in my stash. So I wanted to try and use up those, as I'm on my mission to use up my stash this year. So I did that, which I'm really happy with. I like that kind of final look. They're fairly close, quite muted. The blue is quite muted. And then I did, the other customization was to the length of the body. So it's intended to be cropped. And for a couple of reasons, I did try this top on once I was because it's worked top down. Once I got towards where you'd be stopping to do the hemming, I did want to just check the length for a couple of reasons, one I'll get to in a minute, but one was to make sure I was happy with the length. And as it turned out, I did want to add a bit more to the length, but not too much. So I ended up just doing one more rounds repeat. So the pattern is 6 rounds of the main colour yarn and then 2 rounds of the contrast colour. So I did just do those 8 more rounds before I did the hemming. And again, I think that's left me with a length that I'm happy with. It works well with my high-waisted clothes, like bottoms, like skirts and jeans. So I'm happy with that because I have a lot of high-waisted bottoms that I wear. But as hinted at, I did have a couple of issues that I ran into while making this top, which was of my own thing, nothing to do with the pattern itself, just the choices I made. So, because I was alternating the stripes here, doing white then blue, white then blue, I didn't do the maths or the planning of that before I started to do it. So because you construct the back first and then you do the front before you join them together and work the rest of the body, I hadn't calculated that because the back was going to be longer than the front, obviously account for like your shoulder and your neckline, it didn't completely work out. So at the back here, I do have 2 stripes of blue where the pattern just hasn't worked out, and I had to do a double stripe on the back to ensure that the front continued completely normally, which it has. I didn't love that, but thankfully it's at the back, so I'm not going to see it, and I don't think other people are really going to notice it unless they're looking closely at my top, which, unless you're a knitter, you're probably not going to do. So that was one little, not error, but just an issue I ran into, but it's ultimately fine, and as I say, at the back, you're not going to notice. The second thing that happened to me, and I think I might have mentioned this in my last vlog episode, is that I ran out of the blue yarn. I had about 5 stitches left to go of the last round of blue, and I ran out, which was devastating. And I'd already got some yarn back from my swatch and salvaged that, added it in, and it still wasn't quite enough. So I think in my last vlog episode, I was deciding what to do. I was deciding whether I was going to use the yarn in my stash that was like very similar in colour, but not the same yarn, and thinking if I can get away with that, I'll use it. Or I was going to try it on, which is the second reason I had to try the top on before the hemming, and decide if it was already at a length I liked, I could just rip out that last round of blue and finish the top there. So obviously, as I kind of already suggested, I tried it on and I didn't think the length was quite long enough for me, and I wanted to continue. So that meant that I needed to decide what to do with that blue yarn. So I went in my stash and found the yarn that's a very similar colour, and I just decided to go for it. I decided it was close enough, and honestly, like looking at it now, I can't even tell you that it's different. Like, I'll show you on the camera where it is, but I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up. I'm trying to pick it up myself, and I don't have my glasses on. Hang on a second. Yeah, seriously, I don't think you'll be able to tell, but it's slightly fluffier. The colour is the tiniest bit different, and the yarn's a little bit thicker and a bit fluffier, but I don't think the camera is going to pick it up. So yeah, it turns out I made the right decision. To be honest, I could have done a whole other round with it, and I don't think anyone, including myself, would have noticed going forward. But yeah, that enabled me to finish that round and then add that extra last section in to finish the top. So crisis was averted in the end. And as I say, I'm really happy with this top. I recommend it to anyone who's looking for a tank top to wear. This is a really nice pattern and easily modified for your needs. Yeah, I just love it. Okay, and my second finished object is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed Designs. It's actually, this pink top that I'm wearing is the Ripple Bralette too. So this is my second time making the pattern. And I'll show you the finished version. Here it is. And this was yarn from a twist of yarn in Vernon in BC. It's a sock yarn, and the colourway is called Industrial Age. I like this grey with the kind of speckles of colour. I felt like it was quite a Pacific colour, that's why I bought it. It's a really nice soft yarn. So to walk through my experience making this bralette, first I did the gauge swatch, which everybody should do. And from my gauge swatch, which in hindsight I did make too small, to be honest, it's just 4 inches. And normally I would try and make it bigger to get more accurate. But anyway, I did my swatch, and again, I was off. My stitches, I had too many stitches. I think let me check my notes. The original gauge swatch is 24 stitches for 4 inches, 10 centimeters. I got 27, and you measure that kind of blocked but not stretched, and I have 27 per 4 inches, not 24, so 3 inches extra. So again, I did a bit of maths and just landed on, if I follow according to my measurements, I should do the size large. But I figured with my stitch count being off, if I kept my needle size the same, because I liked the drape of it, the kind of, yeah, the feel of it. If I went up a size and I did some maths and I figured out that that would still give me, hang on, let me go back. So the pattern is designed to have 9 to 11 inches of negative ease. So according to my measurements and then accounting for that ease, I should have done size large, but because my gauge was off and I had more stitches per 4 inches than the designer's gauge swatch, I did a bit of maths. I figured out that if I followed the size XL, I would still have 7 inches of negative ease. So not quite the same level, 9 to 11, but 7, and I thought that's fine. So off I went. This top is constructed from the bottom up. And I had, as I've knit this top before, I just based everything on what I did before, and I remembered that I added a bit more to the bottom than the designer suggested, just because I often find with knitted tops, because of my chest circumference, actually I tend to need a bit more on the body to ensure the coverage to the length that I like, that I'm comfortable with. So I think I added about ½ an inch extra. That's fine, and then I continued on following the pattern exactly. And then I made the straps shorter because I remembered with this pink one I had made them too long and I had to knot them to make them the length, so I made them about 9 inches long, and I think the pattern suggests 11. So I did all of that, and I washed it and I blocked it, and I tried it on, and it's both too big and too short. Yeah, it was so small when I finished it that I thought blocking it is going to be fine. But I was trying to figure out what has happened because, you know, I did my maths and I did the extra length, blah, blah, blah. But I guess that maybe because my gauge watch was too small, I didn't get an accurate stitch count because I just did the 4 inches. I didn't give it space to be bigger. So maybe I didn't get an accurate count. And also it is less ease than the designer had designed for. So perhaps that hasn't helped things, as I'm going to put a video at the top of it with me wearing it so you can see, but it's quite baggy on the sides and you can see bits of my bra, my t-shirt bra, which I don't love people to see. But even if I made the strap shorter to cover that, it then just makes the body length shorter. So now I'm not sure what to do. And in trying to work out what's maybe happened, I think the one thing I ignored on my gauge watch, which I ignore quite often because I always think it doesn't matter, is the row count. And it does matter. Like, it's less important because you can always add more rows or take away more rows. But I think even though I added extra to the body, perhaps because I then just continued following as normal, perhaps my row count was off too, and I just didn't accommodate for that, and that I should have done even more to the body because this is still different yarn to when I knit this pink one. It's different sock yarn, so it's maybe a different gauge altogether, and I should have just been more onto that. I let myself down a bit there, but I can only think that that is what I have done here because it is significantly shorter than this pink one. This pink one is bralette style, like it finishes quite short, but it's not like here. And now I don't know what to do because I have a fear that I'm not going to ever wear this because it's too baggy and it's too short. And that would be a real shame because I wear this a lot to the point that I wanted a replacement. And also I took time to it, I spent money on yarn. So I don't know, do I unravel it all and start again? Do I try and shrink it, but then that risks like felting it? If you have any ideas, put them in the comments below. I'm going to think about it for a couple of weeks. And this is also the reason to try things on. Even the designer suggests when you're doing the straps to try the top on before you commit the straps to the body so that you're happy with the strap length. If I had done that then, it would have been, or I would have felt much easier about unraveling. But because I committed, even though they are kind of just 3 needle bind off on, it wouldn't be hard to unpick. It just feels more done now. I've washed it, I've blocked it. But this is why I try it on as you go. It can be a hassle, but it's worth it to make sure you get the fit you want. Had I tried it on at any point, I might have realised that it was going to be too short and done more about that. So I need to have a think about that. I'm going to put it in my basket for 2 or 3 weeks. If you have ideas, please share them in the comments because I'd love to know what you might do if you were in this situation. Yeah, so although I think it's really lovely, I love the yarn, I love the process of making it, I do have fears I'm not going to wear it because it's a bit too big. Regrets. My other finished object for this month's episode is something that I started in 2024, and this month of July I had been on a little secret mission to finish some projects that I had left over from 2024. They've been sitting in my whipped basket since last summer. I wanted to finish them. But before I get into showing you the 2 whips, one finished, one not, I'll share my personal news with you, and that is that in July I became a Canadian citizen. Yay! Me and my partner have been living in Canada for 6, almost 7 years now, so very happy to have gone through the process and becoming a citizen. We have actually applied almost a year ago now, so it's been a bit of a wait to get it, but very much worth it, and recognize how lucky we are and privileged we are to be able to follow a fairly straightforward process to get citizenship. A little bit of admin, but coming from the UK, Canada being a Commonwealth country, it was very easy for us to get the work visa and then follow the visa processes towards citizenship. Very happy, feel very lucky to have it. I'm very happy just to be able to call Canada our other home for the foreseeable future. But anyway, let's go over to my 2024 WIPs project. So at the start of this year, when I was going through my yarn stash, sorting it all out, you might remember it was a tangled mess. I also did uncover a couple of WIPs from last year that I had left for various reasons and thought I'd come back to later. And now I want to come back to them. I haven't really looked at them for a long time other than just picking them out of my little WIP basket right now. So with you, I am going to be looking at this with a new eye and trying to remember where I left off and what the issue is, because I know for these two WIPs, I stopped doing them because of issues. One I remember very clearly and the other I'm not so sure. So let's have a look. So the first one I have is the Open Edge Tee by Jessie Maed Designs. I started this one last summer to be ready for last summer. And I remember I took it home with me to the UK in August when I was back for a friend's wedding, and I worked on it there. And if I recall, sorry, I'm just untangling all of the yarn. I left it because I'd done something wrong, and I was gonna go back to it and I never did. But now, it's almost a full year on from kind of starting this project. We're nearly at summer again. I think it's time to pick it back up. Okay, so this is where I'm at with it. So I have done, I've done the body. Can you see? I've done the body, and then I obviously have stitches left on the back here, and I had started doing the kind of V-neck shaping for the front. It looks like I finished this side, and I'm still working on here. Now, I now remember what happened. It was that I have done these unequally. So you can see I think I'm not anywhere near finished this yet. It is much longer than that, and it was going to lead to a much deeper V-neck than I would like. So I think I wanted to rip this side out and start again. Or maybe just reassess completely if even this itself is too long than what I would like it to be. So I think I'm going to have to just go back, measure things and take the pattern. But yeah, I would really like to have this one ready for this summer and wear it, so I better get a move on with that. I did use the same yarn as Jessie did in her pattern. It's from Ritual Dyes, because I happened to be in Portland, I think it must be almost a year ago, and I went to the Ritual Dyes yarn store, and even though I previously knit this top before, I wanted to make it again, because I also wasn't happy with that one for reasons I can't remember. But yeah, I thought while I was in Portland I would treat myself to the yarn that was used in the pattern. I really love this corally kind of colour. Yeah, okay, so we'll get to that one at some point soon. And then my other one is Messy. Some of you might remember this one if you've been watching for a while. So the Gastown top, a pattern that I designed myself and released back in 2023. It's a crochet mesh style top. I originally made a blue version of it, and then for my trip to the UK last summer for my friend's wedding, she also had her hen party, or bachelorette party, and I wanted to make a sparkly version of my Gastown top to wear for the night out, and so I did it. And so the Gastown top is structured, you work from the bottom up, so you kind of do the body bit first, and then you separate and crochet the front and the back separately, and then add sleeves on. So when I was making this sparkly number, I had adjusted it in my mind because I wanted the body length to be a bit longer than the original pattern I'd written, that kind of stops just above your hips. I wanted it to be longer than that. I was wearing it over some short shorts and it's just the look that I wanted. However, even in that process itself, once I had finished and I tried it on, I decided that the length was even longer than I had wanted it to be. So I hacked the pattern a bit because I was in a bit of a rush. It was getting too close to my trip coming. I had no time to kind of undo the whole thing and start again. So I thought I'd done a clever hack, and what I did is, how can I show you without revealing? So I kind of measured from the armpit down to the length that I wanted the top to end before the ribbing started, and I just started putting stitches into that length of the body, added some ribbing, did the ribbing, and then just cut the excess off. And I thought, oh wow, I'm amazing, I've really sorted this. Gets to the day of the party, we've been out in the day, we changed for the evening, I put this on and the ribbing starts coming off. And by the end of the night, it's all just hanging off because, of course, I've cut stitches, they've started to unravel, they've slipped away. And so this was how it ended looking. It looks like an animal has been clawing at it, but yeah, you see how it was just kind of falling. I don't know how well you can see that actually. I don't know if you can see how it is just falling away. The ribbing is falling away where I just cut it. So yeah, that happened, and that was pretty devastating because in general, I love this. I think it's great. And so I want to keep wearing it. So now I'm at the point, I can't remember if I started trying this last year or early this year. But anyway, I still want to keep this top. I'm still going to try and fix it. But now, because that was for a specific event, I now want this top to be shorter. Actually shorter than the original pattern and more like a crop length. So my new attempt is quite similar to my previous attempt, which obviously failed. But you can see I kind of measured again where I would want the top to stop to add the ribbing. I don't know how well you can see this. I'm sorry, it's really tricky. But I have started again to add ribbing at this length. And my plan now, how can I show you this, is to kind of keep adding, do the ribbing, but make it double the length that I want the ribbing to be. And then I'm gonna tuck these stitches, I'm gonna fold the ribbing over, tuck these stitches in with it, and then maybe sew it all together, and then I'll cut the excess again, and I'm going to just pray that that works. Alternatively, actually, I've just thought I could iron some fasting in between the ribbing. It might make the ribbing kind of thicker than the top, but that might work, and that might more securely keep the snipped, I was going to say severed, sounds extreme, the snipped stitches in place and not fraying away. Let me know what you think about that though. Is that just a mad idea? Do you have a better way to kind of fix this in order for me to keep it? Because for this version of it, I have held two strands of yarn together. I have the Sandisgarn, is it the Tyne yarn? It's the linen one, held with a strand of sequin yarn, which is so sparkly and great. But yeah, I have learnt through trying to kind of unpick this that sequins are really hard to unravel and it's not fun. So I want to be able to kind of keep it as simple as possible and avoid having to unravel it. But yeah, they're my two whips in 2024. So neither of them are particularly straightforward. I can't just pick up and go with them. You know, that first one I have to figure out what I wanted to do and go back and do it. And then this one I have to just clear up the whole mess. So wish me luck. But in this video, you're going to see the final result and finished result, I hope. just finished my step 1 of fixing the sequined Gastown top I made. So I just wanted to show you where I'm at and what my next steps are going to be. So what I've done is gone to the length that I now want it to be. I have jointed in here. I have added quite a wide brim. And then my plan is to cut off some of the excess here and then fold this over. So what I've done, can you see what I'm doing? Okay, it's hard because it's black. So I have joined, this is so difficult, I'm so sorry guys. So where I have crocheted this extra on, I have joined the work to the back of it. What a nightmare. Okay, and so I'm going to cut the extra off, but then my plan is to fold this over and sew it together. And my hope then is that it reduces the risk of what happened previously here with everything slipping and undoing itself, because I've crocheted onto this a lot with this trim, and then I'm going to sew it up so any cut ends are less likely to unravel because it's all securely sewn in. That is my plan. Let's all keep our fingers crossed for me that this works out. You'll be finding out in a matter of seconds. Okay, I did the brave thing. I cut my top, I sewed up the bottom hem, and voila, here it is. So this is the bottom now. So I did a kind of double folded crochet, as I mentioned. I did some longer crochet and folded it back on itself. So I am hopefully holding all the trimmed edges together. I was very nervous as I was trimming the excess off, and I tried it on last night. I think it has worked. I'm hoping it holds together. The one thing I will say is, because I, hopefully you can see this, but I did sew the two sides together at the top, and I also ran it through the middle as well, just for like, I don't know, security after security. If I had a sewing machine, I probably would have run it over that, but I don't, so I was doing it by hand. However, I will say that has made the hem a bit tighter. So although this has been crocheted to have 2 inches of positive ease, it is now a little bit snug on that hem bit, but I've just about got away with it. And I think it looks all right. So I'm happy to, after making this top almost a year ago, I'm happy to say that I have now readjusted it after the calamity, and excited to be able to wear it out in the evenings and, well, whenever I want again. I'm so happy with this now. There's not much give in the bottom, but the looseness is still remaining for the rest of the top. It still feels good, and I just love how sparkly it is. I hope the camera's picking that up. It's so perfect. Very happy with this. Now that I finished my sequin Gastown top, it's time to go on to my other whip from 2024, the open edge tee. So as I mentioned just earlier, this is the top that I started knitting last year. It's actually the second time I've made this top. However, I got to a point where I was working the V-neck section of the front of the top, and I realized on the second side, the left-hand side, as I'm wearing it, that I had gone wrong and it was getting longer. So I took it out of my basket to just try and rectify it. I was planning just to rip back what I had worked on the front already. So I was going to rip back these sections and pick up the stitches and go again. However, as I was looking at it, I just felt like with this yarn, because it is quite stiff as you're knitting with it before you've washed it, it's quite hard to knit with, and it can get quite gappy. I don't know if you can see that. And I just remembered from when I knit my previous version, although not with the same yarn, it's a similar fibre. The fibre is pretty much the same. And I think I must have had a similar issue there, because you can see where I've had to go back and start again, because there's quite a noticeable line of a slight gap where the stitches are a little wider and looser than the rest of the top, and to me it really stands out, and it's actually one of the reasons why I don't wear it very much and wanted to make a second one, because I'm very conscious of that line. So I was just looking at it and I thought, rather than try and figure out where I need to go back to, start again, and then risk having the same thing happen again where I have a top that I don't wear much because I can see a mistake in it, I've decided just to start the whole thing again. So I still had one skein of the ritual dye yarn left, and that's the yarn that the original pattern the designer used. I had one skein left that I hadn't started using in this project yet, and about half a skein that I hadn't worked yet already rolled up, so I started again. I don't know if that's mad. It's not really the end of the world, to be honest. Like, I'm just starting again, that's fine. I just have to like not put it down this time. I have to see it through to the end, fairly close succession, because I don't want to be in this issue again where I forget where I am, or I've made a mistake and need to go back and then get scared to do it. It's not, you know, I have frogged and ripped out other projects before and put lifelines in and things. It's just with this particular yarn and knowing how kind of stiff and sticky it is, and the risk of having that noticeable mistake there if I do something wrong in my correction, or I don't know, my gauge is different this time. So I'm starting again. I'm still doing the same size. I'm not changing anything that I did already. So it's bottom up, so I've done the ribbing, the first like open edge design, and then I've started working the mane of the body. I don't know how long it's going to take, but hopefully it's going to get finished in 2025, hopefully before the end of summer. And yeah, this is the most yarn I've got, so I think I will need to be ripping this out to get the yarn back, and I'll have to wash that to smooth it out a little bit. So yeah, that's what I've decided to do with that one. Might be a crazy decision, but sometimes that just seems much simpler and quicker to me than taking the tricky and fiddly approach of frogging some of it or putting a lifeline in, etc. So not finished yet, as I was hoping for this video, but starting afresh, and has become a new 2025 whip. So they're all my finished objects and whips for the month of July. I had hoped to start my sundial tee. I think I did mention in my last vlog, I had included it in my leftover yarn patterns for summer video that I had created of patterns, and then in my June vlog I said that I had purchased the pattern because Wool and Pine were having a sale, but I actually didn't get around to starting it because I got so busy with those other projects I was working on. So my hope for August is that I start on that. I have got my bag of leftover sock yarn out to start kind of planning what colours I'm going to use and how much I need of each colour, and that checking that I've got enough. And I will gauge swatch, and I will gauge swatch properly. And then I've also kind of got a bit inspired by finishing that Tsleil-Waututh tee, because I enjoyed it so much. It made me want to design again, and I've had a design that has been lingering around in my head for probably over a year now, but I just haven't had the confidence to give it a go. But I purchased some yarn for it recently because, yeah, I enjoyed making that pattern so much, and the design I have is not really anything like that top, but it just got me inspired to start designing something for myself. And I had been putting designing on pause this year because I just wanted to focus on other things, but I now feel a pull to start working on this. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I've only got as far as doing a swatch, which gives away absolutely nothing. It's Knitting for Olive's merino linen or merino cotton yarn. I've not used Knitting for Olive before. I know it's very popular. I see it in lots of patterns and lots of vlogs. It is really nice just from knitting these gauge swatches. It's been a very nice yarn to work with. So watch the space on that. I'm not really giving you anything there because I just want to make sure it's going to work out how I want before I start showing you and telling you more. But my plan for August so far is going to be the sundial tee, this design, and maybe I'll find another project to do that's going to be stash busting. But thank you for watching this vlog episode. I hope you've enjoyed seeing what I've been working on. I'd love to know what you were working on over July and what your plans are for August, so please share them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, and please subscribe if you don't already so you won't miss future episodes from me. You can also find me on Instagram, also as Wander and Create with Emma, and TikTok as Wander and Create if you're on there. And I will see you next time for another video of Wander and Create with Emma. Thanks for watching. Happy knitting or crocheting.